genre.
In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the Ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. My guest today is writer, WGA strike captain, and founder of the Green Envelope Grocery Aid Program, Joelle Garfinkel.
Yay!
And I feel pretty confident in saying that we both come from a long line of stubborn idiots. So, Joelle, is It Happened One Night a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
Well, I think technically it has been remade as numerous things. One Away Bride is something that comes to mind.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. Of course it is.
And it's also, a foundation for a lot of pop culture references.
Yeah.
However, despite what we're doing right now, it should never be remade.
So it's a has-been, not a should-be.
Yes.
Got it. Interesting.
Because this movie is perfect.
There were so many things. So I watched this movie for the first time 2 nights ago, and there were so many things in this movie that I was like, is this the origin of that idea? Like when she goes to the side of the road and does the leg thing? Is this where that's from?
I mean, it has to be, because that was like the first thing that they referenced that, like, the leg. The other thing that I, rewatching it, because this is one of my favorite movies. I would watch this movie with my mom. I would watch it with my grandma, but I haven't watched it in a long time, and I rewatched it with my son, who's 5.5.
Perfect.
Which, there were parts that went over, but it was like watching
it's
that famous...
It's one of those moments when you really appreciate a good Hays Code.
Exactly. But this was pre-Hays Code. This was the movie that was right before. That's why they got away with stuff like Clark Gable's chest and,
for throwing
and the
negligee
idea,
over the walls of Jericho.
Exactly. And the fact that she was in his bed, that was very controversial. So yeah, it was literally the last movie before the Hays Code was implemented.
I don't think I realized that.
And yet, they never kiss. There's nothing physical between them. It is just all insinuated, which is brilliant.
I guess the only physical thing that happens is she falls asleep on his shoulder.
Yeah. And when she goes into the bed, but there's never a kiss. So yeah, we can talk about, what that will look like now.
Right.
But it was very funny. So that hitchhiking scene, that is like the famous scene, and Clark is like chomping on a carrot.
Yeah.
My son was like, he's like, oh, that's like Bugs Bunny. And then I looked it up afterwards, and it really was the origin of like Bugs Bunny and like how he got a lot of his mannerisms. Who created Bugs, copied it from that. So it's even...
That's the crazy thing that I know is that, I have friends who have rabbits, and, you make the joke, oh, yeah, you just feed them carrots. And, no, you can't give rabbits carrots. It's bad for them. Bugs Bunny just does it because he's making fun of Clark Gable.
Yes, exactly. And that came from this rom-com.
That's wild.
Yeah. And I do think that this is considered, one of the first, screwball comedies, too.
The definitive screwball comedy.
Yes.
From which all others come forth from?
Yeah.
Yes. Before we get too far into this, I guess, Joelle, please introduce yourself to whoever might be listening right now.
Yeah, I'm Joelle Garfinkel. As Sam mentioned, I was a strike captain and founder of Green Envelope Grocery Aid, which provided... We're still going, actually, especially with SAG still on strike and getting us through the holidays. But we've sent over 2,100 grants and have raised over $200,000, which is incredible.
It is very impressive. Especially oh, this is a good idea. I should do this at the start of the strike. We did the thing.
Yeah. And it did. It started, I kept saying to everyone, it felt like I was laying down train track as the train was going. And I was like, I didn't even know I could drive a train.
I'm not sure I've covered that Buster Keaton movie, but I probably should at some point.
We'll see if that can be remade. But, it's such a testament to, if you have an idea and, take the risk because you never know and you can figure it out. And, it brought so much good to people, and I'm so grateful for it. I am also a writer. Yeah, I've been working in the business since 2006. and I've worked on over 20 shows and been in 15 writers' rooms in every single version, except for a writer's PA, weirdly enough. But I've had almost every single job.
I think that's a step that we're comfortable. Generally, the community is comfortable with you skipping.
Yes. I did do post-PA work and general PA work. So I did, I got my fill of PA.
You did your time.
I did my time. But yeah, I was lucky enough to jump from post-PA to a writer's assistant, and then showrunner's assistant, script coordinator, writer's assistant, staff writer, freelance writer, all the things.
So then what's your experience with this movie in particular? Because this was the first or second movie that you were like, oh, it happened one night. Like,
yes.
Do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
Yeah, so I saw it. It was, again, one of my grandma's favorite movies, and it's actually my mom's favorite movie. And my mom is not a big film person.
Mom, who is the daughter of the grandma, or
no,
it's separate?
separate.
Okay,
it's her
important
mother-in-law.
information.
Yeah. So my dad and his parents, they're from New York, and they are big Broadway movie. My grandfather, he ran Jerry's Famous Deli, down the street here.
Perfect.
That was my only connection into entertainment. But they were big, film and movie people. And my mom, she enjoys movies and TV, but my mom is also my best friend. And this was like the one movie that we like connected. And like I remember being a little girl, like watching it in bed and stuff, like cuddling with my mom and like looking at the Wall of Jericho and thinking it was so like cute and funny. And so I just grew up loving this movie. And then I think in film school we had to do like a deep dive, and learn, because again, this movie was the first movie that like swept the Academy Awards and was like huge for Capra. And I think it was, Claudette Colbert was already such a star, but it was like one of the things, like Clark Gable, he was loaned out to the studio as kind of punishment. And
no.
The making of this movie was just, like they all thought it was going to be a disaster, and the fact that it like swept everything was wild. And so
it goes to show you that studios really have no idea what they're doing.
Exactly. Even back then and now.
Yeah. It's like, well, the statistics say this, but you're wrong though.
Yeah.
Like I was listening, I have some friends who have a podcast called Franchisography, and they did the Rocky series. And they talked about how like basically they made Rocky like, it'll be the add-on that we like force theaters to include in addition to, I don't remember what the other movie was, because like that'll be the big success. That movie immediately flops, and then Rocky is Rocky.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, okay.
I guess we're going with this. Well, and what's very famous about It Happened One Night, Claudette Colbert, she hated filming this. Like, she,
really?
like, when she left the set, she apparently told a friend of hers, I just got done filming the worst movie of my career.
No
and
way.
Had no idea that she was going to win the Oscar for it. And in fact, she was not at the ceremony. She was getting ready to travel, which is why when she accepts the Oscar, she's in, like, a travel suit. And people were like, oh, it's an homage to her character. No, she was about to hit a train, and like someone from the studio was like, you are gonna win, you get your butt back here.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so there's so much about this movie that is just like very special and foundational to rom-coms and comedies. And it was a movie that was right before the Hays Code was implemented, which is a very big film history.
Yeah, we're in for a decade of trying things out.
Yes.
Sure it'd be a shame if we gave religious groups that much power going forward.
Yeah.
It would never happen again. Oh no.
Yeah. What will that look like?
But yeah, so like I didn't know any of that. Like I said, I basically had to Google this movie and be like, oh, it happened one night. And my friends were like, no, it happened one night. I'm like, okay. Like I don't know if I've seen a Clark Gable movie other than this one.
Yeah.
That's how bad I am at like film history. I didn't go to film school. I went to theater school. So like it's a little bit different.
Yes.
And so this movie's very fun. I have one huge critique other than just like it's the 30s and he keeps referencing partner violence. Other than that, but like obviously that's a critique.
There's a lot of physical violence and slapping that takes place that should not.
We've moved past that as a society.
Yes.
But obviously, like my big note that I assume most people have I haven't looked it up, but like the movie's called It Happened One Night, and it doesn't.
No, it does not take place over a night. It takes place over 4 nights.
Yeah,
but
so how does it get this title?
That is a really good question, and something that I was like, as I was rewatching, I was like, why was it? And like the only thing that I can think of, if I'm going to like, you know, just wax poetic for a second, is that like their actual falling in love happened the night of the Wall of Jericho.
That makes sense to
So
me.
that's the only thing, because yeah, it happened over 4 nights. Also, that title wouldn't sound as good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It happened over half a week.
Yeah.
It happened Monday to Thursday.
Exactly. Not quite the same ring to it.
It happened over a road trip.
Yes.
That one's okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
We'll work around it.
Yes.
So like, for people who have not seen this movie, so me 3 days ago, what happens?
So it is, the log line, essentially, is disgraced journalist who has just been fired. He meets with this heiress, a runaway heiress who has married someone rich to piss off her father.
Now, is this person who's rich actually a king, or is he just named king?
You know, it's very funny. Growing up, I always thought he was an actual king. And during this rewatch, I was like, I don't think he's an actual king. Like, he just seems like a ne'er-do-well idiot with the name of king.
He seems like the sort of person whose obnoxious rich parents would go like, well, our child.
Exactly.
What's better than, the neighbors named their child Duke. Well,
Yes.
what's better than that? Our child shall be named King.
Yes. It is a little bit Kanye Kim, you know, where
little,
naming
yeah.
their kids. That seems like, you know. But yeah, no, growing up, I always thought, I was like, oh, surely he's a king. But that's not it. Like,
I spent most of the movie doing that, but then like when we finally meet this guy, I'm like, this schmuck.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
This guy's not a king.
No. So yes, runaway heiress runs into disgraced journalist, and they fall in love.
Before they fall in love, he kind of like, they keep running into each other, and he keeps having to bail her out because she has no concept of money.
Yes.
And she has $4 to her name. Her bag gets stolen.
She loses her ticket.
Yeah,
she doesn't. And he calls her out on survival skills and being privileged and spoiled and not knowing how to take care of herself. And it is really interesting because it's like she is, you know, obviously an intelligent woman and, you know, and stuff like that. But it also is the sign of the times, right? Like women weren't in this position to, you know, take the bus on their own and do all that.
And also, especially because I do work in finance, like I have met plenty of people who genuinely have no concept of money.
Oh my gosh. I'll never forget my grandmother. This was when my grandparents were sick and my grandfather was in the hospital. He handled all the finances. And my grandma took me to dinner at Marie Callender's, and the bill came and she's like, can you show me how to do this? And I was in my 20s, you know, so she must have been, you know, at least in her 70s at the time, but she'd never had to pay a bill before, you know, and
that's wild.
It's wild. Like, but that's just how things were. And especially if you came from like a kept family and stuff, as, you know, Ellie does, and there's no mom in the picture,
that's
you know.
true.
So I do think, and especially as a single parent, rewatching it, like there is kind of that sweet, like, codependence, but also overprotective of having, you know, the one child and the one parent. So yeah, she does not know how to take care of herself. Clark Gable is very frustrated by this. And, you know, and I think initially for him, he sees it as an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the story.
It is the story
She
of
is
the century.
The headline of headlines. Like, if you think we're obsessed with rich people now, in the 30s, rich people couldn't do anything without it being headline news. Yes.
And we talk about the fascination with like Nepo babies and stuff. I mean, this is the definition of a Nepo baby, right?
Yes.
Like, this is the... So, yeah, so he sees this opportunity, but, you know, their chemistry is just too strong.
So good.
And they fall in love in a 1930s way where they have to put up a wall.
So, like, the first night where they're splitting a room with, like, I don't know, 5 of his last $20 in order to, like, make Ellie feels safe, Clark Gable's character's named Peter Warren, he puts up a string just like kind of casually in like the perfect way to direct this scene of like he's doing this like hanging up a string. We don't really have any idea what he's doing because he's talking about something completely different, and then he just kind of throws a big blanket over the string, kind of dividing their two separate beds, and then he's like, you can consider this the Wall of Jericho, and I certainly don't have a trumpet on me, so I think we'll be okay. Just to like give her a sense of privacy, and he like loans her pajamas, and it's all very sweet, very romantic in a very chaste, gentlemanly kind of way.
Yes.
And that's, so aside from like the leg thing while hitchhiking, that's probably the other big thing that this movie is remembered for, is the Wall of Jericho.
Yes. And which plays a big part in the movie, because as they're hitchhiking through, from Florida to New York, they're staying in different hotel rooms and, and stuff. So there's a moment when they initially put up the Wall of Jericho, and then there's a moment, which is, I think, the one night where it happened.
Yes, I think you are correct.
Yeah. Where she then crosses the wall, and it's a very sweet and controversial scene because she was in a man's bed, which you did not do in the 30s, an unmarried woman. Well, technically, I guess she was married, but not to him at that point.
Which, even more.
Yes, even more controversy. And then, of course, the movie ends with the wall coming down and the trumpet sounding. Yeah,
so basically what the movie does is, like, they finally realize they together, and then like we see the outside of their cabin-based hotel room, and like two people are like, I don't understand. He asked me if I could go get him a trumpet, so I got him a trumpet. And then we hear the trumpet play, and then the lights go out. End of movie.
And we know what happens. Maybe that's the one night it happened. Maybe that's what it's referencing.
We'll add it to the list.
Yes.
It is one of the many nights we will have to consult.
Yeah.
That might be the night it happens, because like the whole story about the Wall of Jericho, genuinely that might be, and that's the night the wall came down.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
why not?
Why not?
So basically, it's just it's a screwball comedy. So like as they're taking the bus and making their way back from wherever they were, I don't know where they started.
Florida.
They were in Florida?
Yeah.
Oof. They're making, like, she dives off her dad's boat, escapes.
Her dad's yacht.
Yacht.
Let's be clear about the world we're in.
Yes, you are correct. And, like, makes her way back. But, like, it's this comedy. And they run into this guy named Oscar Shapley, who basically went, like, the second trip through her, like, she intentionally sits somewhere separate from Clark Gable. And she just immediately starts getting flirted with by this, like, kind of just, like, bus skis.
Yes.
And then Clark Gable comes over and he's like, I would appreciate you not to flirt with my wife. And he's like, and Shapley's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He's doing this voice. I can't do the voice. But like 2 more times in the movie, like we see Shapley, like the next day at the hotel, he comes over and apologizes to Ellie. And then later in the bus, he's opening a newspaper and he sees a picture of her with the name Ellie Andrews.
Yes.
So he tries to get in on this scheme with Clark Gable, but Clark Gable goes, oh no, if you want in on the scheme, you're in. And like Clark Gable threatens him. It's this amazing scene where basically he just like dives fully in on pretending like he's a gangster, kidnapping Ellie and taking her north, and like threatens like, no, you don't understand, buddy. Once you're in, you're in. If you don't want to be in, you better make a run for it because I'm gonna kill you dead. And like Shapley takes off, and it's this whole amazing thing.
He like face dives into a ditch. And
it's so good. Like, and his portrayal is wonderful. Just like because with the first scene you're just like, all right, cool, we get it. He's the skis, and then he comes back, and then he comes back a third time. I'm like, okay, yes. Rule of threes, yes. Excellent, perfectly done.
And I wonder if that was one of the first times of a rule of 3 for a subplot too.
It genuinely might be.
Because it works so well and it's so effective. So good. Yeah. But
it's early enough in film history that it must be.
Yes.
Like even if it's not the first,
it's enough.
Yeah. I don't know. Like it's also like this is a movie from 1932. Aside from the fact that it's an Oscar winner, it's great that it survived.
Yes.
Because there's so many movies from this era where it's just, we lost the print. We figured no one would want to see it again.
Yeah. No, this one is fully preserved now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the movie as it exists. What are we going to do?
Well, that is a great question. I mean, so one of the things that I thought, modernizing a little bit is like, clearly I already touched upon it. I think that a Nepo baby is the modern day heiress. And so
absolutely,
if we have a Nepo baby marry an idiot to piss off rich daddy, especially if it's like, someone that works in tech and like that kind of person.
Well, she also describes the way she met King Wesley is that she'd escaped from her dad again and jumped into the first car she saw.
Yes.
And it happened to be King Wesley's car.
Yes.
So she's got to be one of the most sheltered kids. So my pitch had been that, like, because what this movie made me think of was like the Britney Spears thing and like a conservatorship, and she just has no exposure to other human beings.
Yeah.
It's like this first guy she met who was nice to her, all of a sudden she's like, oh my gosh, I should be with you forever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she meets like an actual human being and she's like, oh, okay.
This is how I really should be treated.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that is exactly what it felt like, was like the conservatorship and like having someone like Britney Spears. Yeah. And also, I mean, I think like the disgraced journalist, the Clark Gable, Peter Warren character and stuff, like that feels like someone who has just gotten canceled, right?
I wasn't prepared for that, but great. Let's do it. Wow, that's amazing.
Like,
oh, okay, for what?
Could be anything. I mean, I think that it cannot be something like Me Too,
sure,
you know, because that's gonna detract from, you know, the charm and stuff.
Well, especially if we lean into the fact that he's a ski. So we first meet the I keep wanting to call him Peter Gabriel. Peter Warren is played by Clark Gable. I'll get it eventually.
Yes.
He's like, there's like, he's like this like group of dudes who are like, he's trying to sell a dog or something.
Yeah.
And he's trying to like get away with the fact that he's a shitty reporter or something. I didn't even completely follow it, but like, yeah, okay.
And he's constantly drinking and like is like, I think that there is a little bit of like an alcoholic, you know, subplot and stuff. And so
I feel like we can even go with that of like, he is the reporter on the scene, or he's supposed to be getting the story at some event. And he is drunk at the event because he hates being surrounded by rich people.
Yes.
And so he drinks in order to like dull the pain of having to be surrounded by this many rich idiots.
Yes.
And of course, he makes a fool of himself, embarrasses himself, confronts someone he shouldn't have confronted. And so he's basically fired.
Yeah. / canceled.
Well, if it's in front of rich people, you can't. If there's one thing we learned from the one, she did the fake medicine and ripped off a bunch of rich people. Dressed in all black, made her voice really deep.
Oh, Elizabeth Holmes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But the Elizabeth Holmes things is like when she was robbing poor people, didn't matter. As soon as she robbed rich people, absolutely not.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So it's like a male Elizabeth Holmes, the one that audience has been clamoring for.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Love that. Do we want this to actually take place over one night?
To go with the title?
Yeah, well, because the problem is we both need the Wall of Jericho. We need them to spend a night together.
Yes.
But I feel like what needs to happen is they're on the bus, they go get a hotel room, he puts up the Wall of Jericho, which I don't think will work. We're not as biblical a culture, but like it's so intrinsically related to this movie. They just put up a wall of something. It doesn't even need to be Wall of Jericho.
Yes.
It's
just a chastity.
Yeah. he could call it a chastity wall.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, you're such a little princess. Here, I'll put up a chastity wall.
Exactly.
But like, I think because they get bothered in the middle of the morning, and then the two of them play these amazing characters of like, they pretend to be husband and wife when detectives show up. That can, instead of happening at like in the morning, that could happen at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Bang on the door, wakes them up. They do that whole gimmick, but then they're like, people are already kind of onto us. We have to get on the night bus and go. And that's where they find Shapley again. That's where they have to make a run for it. That's where they have to hitchhike. And so everything takes place at night because they chose to get kicked out of the room.
Yeah.
Until finally they make it to some other hotel, and she's like, I can't see... She makes up a story of, I can't see my family like this. I've been going all night. I need some sleep. I can't go see my husband looking like someone who's been awake all night. I do need it to get some sleep. So he gets some sleep. He goes, writes the story, writes back, but it's already over. Slapstick comedy, missed timings. Whoa. Something like that. Yeah, hijinks ensue.
I think that works. And I think, a couple reasons probably in the original why they couldn't do it over just one night is like the chastity of having everyone in one night. But also, this is a black and white movie. Filming at night would have been very tricky. So with modern technology,
we can do
color,
day for night.
We can do day for night. Like
the version everyone likes.
Actually happen in one night.
Yeah, because it's got to, right?
It's got to, yeah. to have the title. And it does, I feel like so much stuff is condensed now too, like just in the timeline of life. Like things just happen faster.
They do. So if we're doing this in one night, that also limits the amount of distance we can travel.
Yes.
So do you still want to do Florida to New York, or where would you like to set this?
I mean, I think that it could be, I do think that politically there is something about going from a red state to a blue state, right?
That's also true.
You know, and I also do think too, like, why does it have to be a bus? Why can't it be that they're on a plane, you know, and stuff?
It's hard to get off in the middle on a plane.
Well, but if you have a layover at a
That's true.
hotel and then you miss your connecting flight.
That is true. I was thinking that, like, especially if she's only been exposed to, like, rich assholes, like, it could genuinely be Silicon Valley to LA.
Yeah.
And they're just taking a Greyhound or whatever from San Francisco down to LA.
Yeah.
Because that's where King Wesley has his palatial estate in the hills or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely is like a Malibu Most Wanted.
Oh, for sure. You can see he being the sort of person who make sure he has a house with his own little section of private beach.
Yes.
And that being something that she's so excited about. He has his own private beach.
Yes.
Okay? Why would you want that? Aren't you so sick of people coming up to you on the beach and being accosted and people taking your pictures? Ma'am, I can honestly say that's never happened to me on any beach, in any state in the country. Well, you're very lucky. Something like that.
Yeah, totally. And he's like a fake environmentalist, like doesn't really care about, but like that's part of his brand.
Yeah. Well, especially if he's so disgusted with rich people, he can also do like the fake environmentalist, like, we have to care about the environment, care about this, care about that, and you just see him tossing stuff out of windows all the time. It's like, what are you doing?
That's not part of it. Like,
no, you don't understand. My family's nonprofit organization really cares about the environment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah? What have you done? We care about it.
yes, exactly. And the action is caring.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's exactly.
I
love the Silicon Valley to LA thing. Like, yes.
But red state to blue state makes more sense. We could also do like eastern part of Washington to Seattle, because eastern Washington is like the secession kind of thing moving over, but we could basically put it anywhere. We don't necessarily need a coast or...
No?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of like fun red state to blue states that aren't something to New York, because that whole area is fairly blue. I mean, I guess like Virginia to DC or New York. Also, that's a very pretty drive.
Yeah. That is a beautiful drive. I think it also depends on what the business is and stuff. Like if we are doing like Silicon and her dad is the Silicon Valley tech guy, it makes much more sense to be
I thought King Wesley was the Silicon Valley tech guy. I assumed they were old money.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, let's have that then. Like, so what would his like old money, and stuff be?
I mean, like any kind of like just robber baron thing of like you really want to lean into it is like he owns the rail line.
Yeah. Or is like real estate developer. Like,
yeah.
That feels a little, yeah.
I mean, that's basically where the old school billionaires have placed their money now, is they just like own cities.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah.
And then she meets someone who's new and he's going to change the world, Dad.
Yes. He's a disruptor.
Yeah. And she's just really just drinking all the punch.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
This is good.
Do we still want Peter Warren to be a reporter?
I like him being a reporter, and I think that gives the edge of, and stuff like looking for the story, but instead of being a reporter for like the Times, like he's like a BuzzFeed type reporter or
oh man,
like
I can't believe I lost my job at Gawker.
Yeah, exactly.
Which Gawker doesn't exist anymore, right?
No, I don't think so.
That's the one that Hulk Hogan shut down.
I don't know that.
I think what happened with Gawker is Gawker got photos of like a sex video from Hulk Hogan about like him having an affair, and it basically just like resulted in like he basically used all of his right-wing power, because Hulk Hogan's a monster, to basically take down Gawker, and it worked.
Oh my god. Yeah. But yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah,
he could be
okay.
a journalist for,
I mean, we can just call it Talker.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Do you want to know what's going on? You got to listen to the Talker. Yeah, okay, perfect.
This sounds right.
Man. I mean, because a lot of the things kind of make sense in terms of just, like, they're traveling. Like, we obviously crunched down the time scale, but, like, the moving from here to there, back and forth, that's all still good.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously you don't even need the newspaper. You just have pictures of Ellie Andrews on Oscar Shapley's phone.
Yes.
He's
tuned
enough. In. Yeah. Oh, you see, I follow all the sexy dames out there making money.
Yeah.
I gotta aspire to something with my own family, see? Like, because he's been flirting with her the whole movie, and then we finally get to the end, and he's, like, married with kids.
Yeah.
And, like, of course he is.
Yeah. But, I mean, that dynamic is still the same in this day and age.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Dudes are still gonna do.
Yeah.
But yes. That's very funny. Okay, so do we still want, like, Ellie's escape to be off of the yacht? I mean, obviously we can amp it up to be off the super yacht.
Yes.
And the really funny thing would be if she takes the yacht, the mini yacht attached to the super yacht, and, like, what do you mean there's no staff on the mini yacht?
Yeah.
There's got to be staff on the mini yacht. Go after her. Sir, she took the mini yacht. Well, how are we going to get off of here? And there's just the boat slowly starts turning around, but she's already taken off.
And those are really hard to drive.
Probably.
So she probably does not know how to drive it. And...
Well, she certainly doesn't know how to park it. She beaches it and then takes off someplace else.
Yeah.
Because what happens in the movie is she jumps off a boat and then makes it away by swimming.
Yeah.
I don't know how she did it.
She's fast. Part dolphin, maybe.
Clearly.
Who knows?
I mean, we don't meet her mother. I don't see why that can't be the case.
Yeah, she could be part dolphin.
It could be one of, like, a Pirates of the Caribbean situation where the mother only gets to come up on land once every 7 years.
That's true. That's true.
It's really tragic. No wonder that this father wants the best for his little girl.
Yeah.
And and in the movie she specifically says that King Wesley and she are both over 21. They can do what they want, which means she just saw her mom and is now filled with a renewed sense of independence.
She just went through the cycle.
Just through the cycle. Like, they make that joke in the movie, but I looked it up. Clark Gable in the movie is, like, 33 and she's 31.
Yes.
So, like, I definitely cast people in their 30s. But,
yes.
like, but that's even worse of, like, someone who's been under a conservatorship for, like, 30-something years?
Yeah.
That's too long.
It's too long. I mean, look at how long was Britney in her conservatorship for?
Longer than that?
Yeah, and that did not fare well. So we should not be doing that.
No, but rich people gonna rich.
Rich people gonna rich.
What else do we need? Because I feel like we need to have other set pieces.
Yes. Yeah, and the other set pieces, and I also, like, the other thing that I was thinking a lot about is the fact that, you know, again, we talked about the Hays Code and what that meant and stuff, but if we're going to take that version and do it now, like, what kind of movie does that look like?
Yeah.
So I think tonally, you know, is it very similar where it's a screwball comedy, you know, and stuff, or are we looking at where it is more a little raunchy, a little, you know, like, do we actually see the wall come down and have the craziest sex scene, you know, of all time?
Craziest sex scene of all time, and then cut to credits.
Yeah, with a trumpet sounding.
Even better than that, craziest sex scene as credits roll.
Yeah.
We want to make sure people stick around for the credits. That's what you do.
Post-credits.
Well, the post-credits is the... Oh my God.
Like... So is there an element of that, you know?
Oh, we could do that. That's not even where I was going, but we absolutely could do that.
What were some other set pieces you thought?
Well, because I was, like, thinking, like, because part of the impetus of the movie is that she runs out of money, she has no money, she loses her ticket. But they're also trying to track her.
Yeah.
So that means that she's also, like, a rich person who's probably been on her phone constantly 24/7 for the last 20 years.
Yes.
Like, so the Peter Warren character is going to have to make her either give up her phone or make her turn it off. He's probably going to break her phone in front of her, and she's going to be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
It's like, they're tracking you. What are you talking about?
Have you ever heard of Find My iPhone?
Yeah. Or, like, she goes and uses daddy's credit card.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You can't do that. They track the purchase." And, like, literally and, like, she could have gone out in the middle of the night when they first get to the hotel and just bought a bottle of water with the credit card because she doesn't have cash. She just has the credit card. And literally using the credit card on the vending machine is how they track them down to the hotel.
I love that. That's great.
And so like, he makes her throw out her whole wallet.
Yes.
And, like, he's like, well, you have to do it because you're my story. I mean, we have to get you back to your husband.
Yeah. I think there's also something to be said about fame and how, you know, that, like, if we're looking at her as, like, a little bit of an influencer, like, Nepo baby and stuff like that, like, she's someone that is seen, you know, like, there's fame and notoriety no matter what. And so it's like, is there also a little bit of like a makeover scene where they have to like, you know, really hide her appearance and change her into something that maybe she's always wanted to have, you know?
You know what I would like?
What?
What I would like is if their whole makeover scene is her removing all her makeup. And no one knows what she looks like without her makeup.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. That's great.
Because she literally could be the sort of person who's done every single look, but every single look is like, she's been blonde, she's been redheaded, she's had black hair, all of it. But like the one thing she hasn't done is just like no makeup ponytail.
Yeah, no makeup ponytail in a hoodie, and like this is what she's always wanted.
Yeah.
Instead of being made up. And,
oh my god, it's so comfortable. I can slouch.
Yeah. You know what else it made me just think of too? Is like if she's always wanted a tattoo. Oh. And like, you know, they go to a tattoo
late night tattoo parlor.
Yeah.
Oh man, what tattoo does she get?
I don't know.
Daddy's little girl.
Yeah. Dad with a heart on her. Yeah.
Definitely not that. But seriously, what kind of tattoo does she get?
God, like...
It could either be like something really cool and artsy, or it could be the most basic thing. And she's like, I've wanted this ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm getting my unicorn tattoo because I've always wanted a unicorn tattoo.
She's always wanted her tramp stamp.
Yeah.
Like
she gets it as a tramp stamp. Oh man. I'm trying to think of something with a trumpet, but like none of it works. Like I'm trying to do like a rap. No, it doesn't work. Honestly, it could just be Bugs Bunny.
It could be It could be a carrot.
You know what? Perfect. Lola Bunny.
Yeah, like there's something very phallic about a carrot if we're going in that direction.
Especially if she gets it as a tramp stamp. Oh my god. Hayes this.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Ay.
What's up, Doc? Indeed.
Oh no. Oh god, you put them in bed together and she goes, so, what's up? Well, I'll tell you what's up. Doc is.
Yeah. Cut 2 credits.
No. Never leave, never cut. Full single take. This is what's the single take thing called when you don't cut away? There's a word for it, but I don't remember.
I just thought it was single take.
Okay.
Yeah.
Their single take is just like you never cut away from the sex scene. It's just like best boy.
Yeah.
Costume designer. Set deck. Just
raunchy sex.
They roll over and then it starts coming up the other side of the screen.
As they change positions, how you change departments.
Yes. That's ridiculous.
Second unit. There's a joke in there somewhere, but you know. Well.
Yes, good. Great, love it.
I'm sure my parents will hear this podcast, so we won't go there.
Well, finally, then we get to the shot, and it's just going to have to be one of their asses, and then intimacy coordinator.
Yeah, exactly. Just over the tramp stamp.
That's it. That's what the tattoo is. Intimacy coordinator. Oh my god. Okay. So what else do we need? We don't really know how they're traveling. I still think bus is probably fine. Like, she's not going to be something she's going to be used to, and I don't think there's going to be a jig in the middle of the bus ride.
No. That was a delightful scene, though, right?
That was genuinely great. I'm like, aw, bus travel seems nice. It's not like this.
Yeah.
I mean, for one thing, they had legroom, but also...
Oh, yeah. Well, and places to put suitcases and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that is one thing about setting it, like, keeping the bus and stuff, is just the juxtaposition of what it was like to travel by bus in, 1934 versus now.
Well, that she could have been planning on traveling by, like, high-speed rail or, like, the private airplane, because she's like, I just walk up and they know me. And he's like, and you understand why that's a problem, right? No. They know you.
It is easy to track you. But, yeah. And someone like that, like, she probably has never been on a bus before.
Probably.
Like, I do buy that Ellie, in the 30s version, like, she's probably had been on a bus. She just wasn't the one that was,
I thought that it was fairly clever that she had another lady go buy her ticket, and then she came back. And
yes.
The lady gave her change, which I was like, that's very cute.
I know.
I was like, okay.
Very honest.
Yeah. And, like, that, she got her ticket, got on the bus. I was like, that's...
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that was kind of the most clever she was. And then once she has this guy who's rescuing her, then she's kind of just, like...
She falls back
ditzy
into
damsel.
It. Yeah.
But, like, it's fine. And then we obviously get to the end of the movie where, like... Because of the screwball comedy nature, like... They miss their timing. He goes to file his report, and he wants this report to be like, and it turned out, I'm in love with you too. And like, he wanted this to be the newspaper article that she sees.
Yes. His proclamation of love all over the headlines.
Which would have been very cute.
Yes. But
like, you can just do that on the internet now. But, like, by going and filing that thing, he just abandons her in the hotel, and she's like, well, he left.
Yes.
So
And
I'm just going to call Dad.
Yeah. And where he abandons her too, like in the plot of the movie, like that is when she like declared her love for him. She like crossed over the wall and was like, I want to be with you.
Yeah.
So then he just leaves her. So she's assuming that like, here, I just put myself out there for you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, like, especially because like she falls in love with him after he, like, what kind of woman would you like? He's like, I just want someone to go explore the world with me. That it's so simple. I just want to travel around and like have this person who I love with me the whole time. And she's like, oh my God.
Yeah. That's what I've always wanted.
He doesn't have his own whirlipede, but that's fine.
Yeah. He doesn't have his own Malibu compound.
Whirligiro? Gylipede? What do they call the thing?
I forget what it's called.
It was like
but
a
it's
weird helicopter.
Yeah.
It's like a helicopter plane.
It was also when he got off the helicopter, I was like, oh my God, like how they did not hurt themselves like filming that was insane.
Because he was the only one in the plane. And they couldn't have done it with a remote control.
No.
I guess they cast someone who could fly that because they didn't need him to say any lines.
Yeah, exactly. For someone who's so dominant in the movie, he's only in it very little.
Yes.
But
he's a big old nothing.
Yes.
Okay, yes. So travel by bus, like they have fun with it. They have their night that they get interrupted in the middle of the night sleep. They make a run for it, but they basically have this adventure and they fall in love as they're going on this adventure. And then right at the finish line, Peter Warren trips and falls by trying to be overly romantic, but just utterly fucking it up. She goes back to Dad, runs away from the wedding, finds him again. Trumpet plays, walls of Jericho come down, sex scene credits.
Yes.
Is there anything else we're missing?
No, but you know what? I just had an idea of where it could take place.
Please.
And especially where playing into like the marriage and all that end of it. Mm-hmm. What if he's a developer in Las Vegas? And so they're traveling to Vegas.
The King Wesley is? Or the dad is?
The dad is in Vegas. And so that's where, like, the end scene is.
You could even go, like, they're traveling from Vegas to San Francisco.
Yes.
Or no, because she's trying to get away from her dad to the guy. So, yeah. But, like, starting in Vegas is always great.
Yes, or ending in Vegas is what, yeah.
Well, especially because, like, as a means of escape, like, all you gotta do is, like, be in Vegas. And there's buses and trains and planes going everywhere.
Exactly.
So, like, as soon as you lose track of someone, they could be anywhere.
Yes.
Perfect.
And there's an element of, like, escapism with it being Vegas and, yeah.
So then is she heading to San Francisco or to LA?
Let's see. So if Wesley is in LA, like, or are we saying that he's the tech guy?
I feel like LA is only like a 4 or 5 hour drive.
Yeah.
And I think San Francisco's further away from Vegas, right?
Yeah.
I'd say let's put it in Vegas. The thing is, I don't know what fun towns they can stop in on the way, but honestly, that's kind of fun. I'm a big, like, road trip. I love road trips. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a tiny little town. We have to stop and eat here. Like, that sort of thing. Yeah. I love that stuff. Stopping at, like, if you're doing the drive to Vegas, I want to stop and buy the alien jerky. Like,
yeah.
Great. Let's do it.
Let's do a stop in Prim.
Yeah. Stop in Prim. Stop at Eddie's World.
Yeah, totally.
Good. I love all of that. Great. If there's anything else we need for the movie, let's talk about casting.
Okay.
Obviously, I feel like we got to start with Ellie. Like, the movie's going to list, like, Clark Gable first, but nuts to that. Ellie's the star.
Yes.
Who are we casting for Ellie?
Selena Gomez.
Ooh, interesting choice. You went, I think, younger. Selena Gomez is in her 20s, right?
She's in her 20s.
Okay, you went younger than I did.
Yeah. So I felt Selena would be good because comedy actress and also, like, has had, you know, she was a child star. And so she's had that, like, sheltered life and stuff like that. So, yeah, that just spoke to me.
That works. That's very clever. I like that a lot. I went with an actress I've really only seen in 2 things. She's the romantic lead in Raimi. I think she's the romantic lead in Moon Knight as well. Her name is May Kalamawi. Just, like, I was thinking, like, different kind of old money of, like, oil tycoon old money, like, coming from that. And just that sense of privilege and also being even more kind of, like, outside society, like, just kind of, like, looking down upon and, like, well, we get to live here in Las Vegas. Isn't that exciting? I guess. And you just, like, outside the window. It's just the dome just blaring light into their, like, penthouse apartment. And you're just like,
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. I feel like, oh, man. So, who'd you have for the dad? Because if we're going to be going, presumably, honestly, if we end up going with Selena Gomez, we'll probably go with your Ellie, Peter, and the dad, just because in terms of age and all the spread out.
Yes.
So who did you have for the dad?
So I had Oscar Isaac for the dad.
That's so funny. I almost cast him as my Peter.
Oh my god!
So that is different. How old is Oscar Isaac?
So Oscar Isaac is, I mean, he's in his like late 40s, if not.
He's 44.
Yeah.
And
he's only 44?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's why I was like, I almost cast him. I was like, because Selena Gomez is 31.
Yeah.
Which means he would have had to have her when he was 13.
But she looks younger. He could play older.
He can.
Yeah.
I was this close to casting him as my Peter, except that like Oscar Isaac and May Kalamaui are the romantic interest in Moon Knight. I'm like, well, I can't do that.
Yes.
That's really funny. My dad, I went with Tony Shalhoub.
Oh, that's a great one.
Because like obviously he's like, for all the different things where he's played a dad, but he's like the most dad energy, and he's also like half Lebanese, so it kind of works.
Yes.
And just like, you can just see him being like, well, yeah, I want you to be happy, but not that guy.
Yes.
That guy sucks.
Because that's the thing about the dad is like, even though he does slap her in the beginning of the movie, which causes her to. He
slaps her. He basically keeps her like caged bird.
Yes. She's in her gilded cage and stuff. But the end scene when he tells her there's a getaway car waiting for her, like, you can see their genuine love and connection. And it's like, so that was where I felt you needed someone charming, someone that did have that dad energy.
Absolutely.
But also
someone
that
who
you
knows that this is the representative of the woman he loves and only gets to see once every 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but but also needs to have the gravitas of being like, a multi, billionaire.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. So then with that in mind, who'd you have for your Peter Warren, who presumably is someone who hates that guy?
Yes. So this was the trickiest casting. I actually have 3 names, which I know is against your rule of not casting.
It's fine.
But, so who I finally went with was Kingsley Benadir.
I don't know who that is.
He was most recently in Barbie. He played one of the Kens. He was also in...
Yes.
Yeah.
I also considered him.
Oh my god! Yeah!
Well, because, so I considered him, but not for this role.
Okay.
I considered him for King Wesley.
Interesting.
But I'm like, he's too gorgeous.
But to me, like, because the very easy way to go, we always hear, like, who's the modern day, Clark Gable. So I was like, I started there, and I was like, okay, is it a Chris? Which Chris would it be?
Yeah.
Pine, obviously.
That's true.
But I was like, we don't need another, white,
and even the Chris's
man.
themselves are getting like late
They're
30s, early 40s.
Yeah, so they're a little older and stuff. The other names that I had were John Boyega.
Sure.
Who is also very charming,
Absolutely.
and stuff, but could play that, like little bit of an edge. And then I also had Mike Faced as one of.
Mike Faced?
He was in West Side Story. And is going to be in the new Challengers, I think it is. The Zendaya tennis movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just unfamiliar with this guy. I have seen literally none of the things he's in.
Well, he is a brilliant actor.
I believe you.
But also kind of has that, you could see someone like that getting canceled, but also like, charming.
Very much so.
You got to fall in love with him.
The guy that I had was, I briefly considered Diego Luna, and I was like, no.
I had Diego Luna on my list, too.
I was considering Diego Luna, and Diego Luna is a phenomenal actor, but I genuinely can't imagine him smiling.
Yes!
And I feel like that's important.
It's very important in this role, yes.
So I wanted someone who's, like, we've seen portraying a character, who, he needs to be very funny. Mm-hmm. And he also needs to be someone who we can just imagine him sitting there with the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And, like, this is a guy who's been in Veep. He's been in I Think You Should Leave. And most recently, I've been watching him in After Party. And that's Sam Richardson.
Yes! Oh, my God. Okay, we're going with your choice. That is so good.
So the issue, though, then, is if Selena Gomez is 31, how old is Sam Richardson?
I think he's
39. It's an 8-year difference, but that's not the end of the world.
That's okay.
Because I feel like I'm perfectly happy going with Selena Gomez. We might need to go with Tony Shalhoub in that case.
I think we do have to go with Tony Shalhoub in that case. But yeah, Selena Gomez, Sam Richardson. Oh, I'm loving this. All solid comedy actors.
Yeah, because it's a screwball comedy. We need people...
But also great actors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is so important.
Also, that Selena Gomez and Sam Richardson sex scene. Oh, boy.
That's going to be wild. Especially because Like, he looks young for his age, but just, like, all of a sudden you're just gonna get into it, and, like, it's gonna be weird. Yeah. But it's great. We're into it.
Yeah. Also, side note, though, he's also in Ted Lasso, and, like, the role he plays in Ted Lasso.
Who's he in Ted Lasso?
He's the Gone-In soccer owner. The one that, like...
Oh, I didn't make it that far.
Oh, Sam!
I stopped in the middle of... my favorite character in season 1 was Nate, and so I couldn't make it through Nate's arc in season 2.
Yes, it's a tough arc if you are a Nate, purist.
And I know that it comes back around. I do, and I knew it was going there, but I'm like, I'm just having a hard time getting through this. Like, I stopped at the episode when he spat on himself in the mirror. I'm like, okay.
Sam Richardson's character, he plays, like, he's the owner of Sam, the soccer player, like his national team.
Yeah.
And so he like vows, he's like, you're never gonna play for the national team. And he just plays like this dick, and he's so hot in it. Like, I'm like, oh, Sam.
Good. Good. Let's lean into that. Yeah. Good. That's the kind of Clark Gable energy that we need. Perfect.
So good.
Love
okay, who'd you have for King Wesley?
So for King Wesley, King Wesley was the hardest character for me to cast. And like, this is where I had considered putting Kingsley Ben-Adir, but like, because I was like, specifically because of the character he plays in Dungeons and Dragons, where he's kind of like the stiff character, but he's still a stiff character and is still the most charming person in the movie.
Yes.
And so like,
Kingsley Ben-Adir has so much charm.
Yeah, we need someone who's funny, but also is basically like just a big old nothing, or can be a big old nothing. And I also considered like John Cho, and I'm like, it can't be John Cho for the same problem.
Way too charming.
He's way too charming, and so I ended up cheating.
Okay.
In that I asked for help.
Okay.
And my friend Dimitri Milken, I was like, I need someone to play this role. And he was like, you know who would work? Alfonso Ribeiro.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? I really only know him from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
And I know he's like helping with Dancing with the Stars or anything, but like, I think he could kind of play a vacuous, rich idiot.
Yeah.
Because that's what we know him as. We believe that.
Yeah.
And we just like see him with the big grin on his face and just does a big old nothing.
Yeah.
I think he's too old, but I also think that like too old for Selena Gomez, but I also think that leans into he's the first guy she ever met.
Yes.
And so I think it kind of works. But I'm really excited to hear who you have.
Okay, so I will say this was the easiest casting for me. I had the opposite. This was the first person that I came up with. I also shared it with some friends today, and they were like, that is great.
Perfect.
Pete Davidson.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously. It's well, here's the way we do that, is we keep talking about Kings Wesley throughout the whole movie, and we don't see who he is until 2/3 of the movie, and then all of a sudden it's Pete Davidson, and everyone's just like, oh, a fucking course. Oh my God. Yes.
That's who it is. And that is the King Wesley in the movie, is that you hear about him, but you don't actually see him.
Yeah.
It works.
It works so well.
Yeah.
And like, that's so good.
Thank you.
Amazing.
You. Okay, who did you have for
Shapley?
Yes.
This was my first casting. I was like, oh, well, obviously. So we need someone who's just a schmuck. But like, who can be like, we can see him give an honest, conciliatory, like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But then just goes right back to being like an obnoxious, like, hey, you wanna get in here and cut me in for half the whatever?
Yeah.
And we've seen him in Parks and Rec. We've seen him in After Party. It's Ben Schwartz.
Oh, so good.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you just see him being ooh, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
And he's also very, very charming, but he doesn't have to turn that part on.
Yeah.
He's very good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's me personally, the challenge with Ben Schwartz is he's like, sweet Jewish boy
of
that
course.
I'm like, this is my kryptonite.
Yeah.
So.
Fair.
But yeah, so I had, and I apologize because I cannot say his last name, but Barry Keoghan? Is that how you say his last name?
Let's find out.
That guy.
I 100% looked this guy up too.
Yes. I mean, that is like...
Yeah. That's also really good. And he also he can just play a schmuckety kind of...
Yes.
Yeah, that's really good. That's also perfect. I'm perfectly happy to go with Barry Keoghan.
Cool. And thank you for saying his name correctly. Keoghan?
I don't know. The important thing is I'm saying it with confidence.
Yeah, that's the key to everything, ain't it, Sam?
If it's correct.
Did you have any other casting? I had one more, just like a fun casting.
I had the random guy who they hitchhike with
Yes,
and steals
me
all their
too!
stuff.
That's exactly.
Because it's the perfect time for stunt casting.
Yes.
He's in the movie for 5 minutes, is super charming, and then the instant he has the opportunity to screw them over, takes off, and you're just like, no, and he's just sitting there singing in the front seat of the car, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And like, this is the most stunt castingest of things. I'm like, well, who would be who would love to do this?
Yeah.
Have so much fun, and who everyone would just love to just all of a sudden, you pull up, they get into the car, and you're just like, Pedro Pascal. And he's just there driving, singing his song, and then they're just like, he's like, I'm gonna go in and grab some food. They get out of the car, and he's like, bye-bye. He's in the movie for 5 minutes, 1 day of shooting, and that's it.
And that's it. So Pedro Pascal.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Who was yours?
I had Fred Armisen.
Oh, yeah, same basic plan.
Yeah, watching the role, I was like, this is like the Fred Armisen character pre-Fred Armisen. Like,
yeah, kind of.
Because it was just so, like, exactly what you said. Just a quirky character that comes in, does his thing.
It's the sort of role that, were John Candy still with us, would be the John Candy role.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So
like, the background comedy, which is Fred Armisen. And Pedro Pascal is not really background in comedy, so I'm perfectly happy to go with Fred Armisen. But
yes,
like, can you imagine?
Oh my god!
Like, it's also the sort of thing that John Hamm also loves doing in movies. He's just like, what are you doing here? Do you have nothing else?
How did you get here?
Yeah, it's like, I'm just, and it's like he's literally playing John Hamm.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I love doing this drive. It's the best. And you just stop and pick random people over. Yeah. It's I learned it from Bill Murray. No one's gonna believe them.
I mean, Bill Murray would also be a great.
Yeah. If Bill Murray hadn't been canceled,
then yes.
Yeah. But basically, yeah. Like, any of these people, it just needs to be, like, honestly, I'm happy to go with Fred Armisen, and it's just Fred Armisen, not being a character, just like, I'm Fred Armisen.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm not making what was the Portland show called? Portlandia.
Yes.
I mean, those Portlandia residuals aren't coming in as much as you thought they were anymore, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
So I'm not flying. It's great. And it's like, okay, Fred Armisen. Did we just get robbed by Fred Armisen? I think we got. I'm gonna go beat up Fred Armisen.
Yeah.
Because he chases down the car.
And he gets the car back.
He
That's
does.
That's
he steals the car from the guy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that guy wasn't gonna. Genuinely, I'm sad we don't have that scene, but I also think the movie's better for not having that scene.
Yeah. Agreed.
Because literally, it's like he could abandon them in any town.
Yeah.
And I would love it if he peels off and takes off, and they're just like, oh man, and he runs a red light and then just gets pulled over by some cop. And because you drive through a small town, and have you ever driven through one of those small towns where the highway's 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, and the small town 25 miles an hour?
Yes.
So you have to slow down because the cops are ready to, because that's how the town makes its money.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're just in this town, he peels off, and the cop's just like, nope. And Peter Warren's like, great, I got him now. and he tries to get away from the cop arrests him, and the cop's like, yeah, the cop's like, is this your car? Yes. And then he just gets the car, and they're good. Fred Armisen, great, love it.
So good. I love that we both had that side character that we were like, you have to cast
so
it.
I was literally on the print page screen for my notes, and I was like, no.
I'm like, one more. That's it.
I would be remiss.
Yeah, and I didn't even know what the character's name is. I'm just like, hitchhiking guy.
I wrote that guy who steals their stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you have anybody else?
No, that's it for
That's
actors.
me for actors as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we have writer and we have director.
Yes.
Director was tough, but I feel good about my writer. So let me go first for writer, and then I'll have you go first for director.
Okay,
or
sounds
vice
good.
versa.
Yeah.
My writer, I wanted someone who, comedy, but also has written about rich people. Mm-hmm. So she's been a writer on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, on Boo Bitch, and on Emily in Paris. It's a writer named Erin Ehrlich.
Oh.
It was a little bit, it was also important for me because again, Peter Warren's not the lead. Ellie Andrews is the lead.
Yes.
Kind of want a female writer.
Yes.
And so she is a writer and a director. She's also directed episodes and that sort of thing. And I think that it would be fun to have her write it, make sure we get female perspective, and then I have a different guy for director.
Okay. I also had the same for writer.
Great.
I wanted comedy, female writer, and I went with Quinta Brunson.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, what has Quinta Brunson done?
Abbott Elementary.
Of course.
She is the writer, creator, star of Abbott. Yeah, she, to me, just has her pulse on comedy. and I would also, I'm just going to throw this out there, I would like to co-write it with Quinta, and I hope that she would be obliged.
Part of me was expecting you to say your own name.
Yes, no, I mean, I'm not, I will co-write, but I think
Yes.
Quinta I would love
You
to
shall
see.
deign to work.
Yeah.
Good, perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, we're executive producers on this. Obviously, this is our idea.
Obviously, yeah.
Who did you have for your... I embraced the wrong name. Who did you have for your director?
So for my director, this was someone that I needed help with. So I'm going to give a hat tip to Barry Rabinowitz, who was one of our Radford regulars.
Amazing.
Because I chatted with him and I was like, I have everything except for the director.
Great.
And he came up with Darren Aronofsky.
What? Why Darren Aronofsky?
Because think about it. If we're going in this raunchy version of
of all the names.
Do you need a second? Is this
yeah,
where we should go to commercial?
It's almost like you said David Lynch.
Yeah. Which is my favorite director, so that would normally be the default. I would just be like, let Lynch direct it.
That would be I feel like if it was David Lynch directing this, the real emphasis would be it.
Yes.
It happened one night.
It happened one night?
What is it?
But, like, here's the thing with Aronofsky, is, like, there's a romance in, you know, in a lot of stuff that he could do that, and I don't know.
It just caught me so off guard.
Who did you have for director, Sam?
So I have the obvious choice.
Okay.
So I have an obvious choice, and then I have kind of like the one that like we love here on Ideal Remake, and like it's a directing team on Ideal Remake, but like it's a directing team because they're the ones who did Game Night, Honor Among Thieves, and Spider-Man: Homecoming, and that's John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein.
Yes.
Because you think of just like the really fun things that occur over like one night.
Yes.
Or one period of time. Like they're the guys. They're the comedy guys right now that anyone outside of Hollywood doesn't know their names, but like they're the guys.
Yes.
And I'm like, for Ideal Remake, that's basically the people who we would go with. And then the obvious Hollywood choice of like, this is who would actually be offered the job and would probably accept it. Like he's done remakes and repeats, and he's been the comedy guy forever, and that's Paul Feig.
Oh yes.
So
another great one.
Yeah. So it's like my heart for, especially because I love Game Night. I loved Honor Among Thieves. I mean, obviously I pulled a bunch of people for that. So did you.
Yes.
It's like I would push us towards John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein. I also know that I've just used them a bunch, so I'm perfectly happy to go with whomever.
I think that's a great one. And I think John Francis Daley, he was also in Freaks and Geeks, wasn't he? Wasn't he the...
I don't know. Probably. Maybe. I don't know stuff about things.
But, you know, the fact that he started as an actor too, you know, I think is interesting in terms of, you know, framing this as Nepo Baby and...
Oh, for sure. Yep, he sure was.
Yeah.
Played a character named Sam.
I know my thing.
You really did.
Yeah. Have you never seen Freaks and Geeks?
I have the DVD sitting right there.
Okay, thank God.
I've seen most of it.
Okay.
And it was like a long time ago.
He was the main...
He's the main guy.
He's the main geek.
Yeah.
He's the
Obviously
geek.
he is.
And,
He's the short one.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
He would be great.
Yes. Okay. So we'll do Joelle Garfinkel and Quinta Brunson writing.
Yes.
And John Francis Daley, Jonathan Goldstein directing.
Perfect.
Cool. So then let me take you through what we got. It happened one night, but for real this time. Ellie Andrews will be played by Selena Gomez. Peter Warren will be Sam Richardson. Alexander Andrews, the dad, will be Tony Shalhoub. King Wesley will be Pete Davidson. Oscar Shapley, Barry Keoghan. That guy who steals their stuff will be Fred Armisen. All this will be written by Joelle Garfinkel and Quinta Brunson, and directed by John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein. That is It Happened One Night.
Yay!
This movie should never be remade, but if it is exactly this way, will you go see this movie?
Absolutely.
Great. But Joelle, thank you so much for being my guest for this episode. This was super fun.
It was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
For anyone who's listening, is there anything you would like them to do? Obviously, like, we can't promote shows.
Yes.
But, like, if you want people to follow you on social medias or
Sure.
contribute to any particular funds.
Yes, if you know, you happen to be able to donate to a strike fund, we are still doing Green Envelope Grocery Aid. And all the information for that you can find on my Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, but Miss Joelle Garf. I'm also on Instagram, Joelle_Garfinkel.
Spell Garfinkel just in case.
Garfinkel.
Perfect.
And and it's been so much fun. Thank you so much for having me, Sam.
You're very welcome. If anyone is interested in following me, I am on BlueSky at Sam Gasch, SamGasch, or you can follow the podcast on Instagram at Ideal Remake. Or if you want to tell us who you think the guy is who steals their stuff, join the Dueling Genre Discord and chat with me and most of the past guests there, and it'd be super fun. That's it for the episode. Again, thank you very much for being my guest. I will end this episode the same way I end all episodes. What is your favorite quote from the movie It Happened One Night?
Oh my god! Okay, well, I wrote it down, so now I have to go to it. Say, where'd you learn to dunk? In finishing school?
Oh, that's right.
He's teaching her to dunk donuts.
He's mansplaining how to dunk donuts in a coffee. Yeah. That's right. That's such a weird scene. Who gives a shit?
I know.
Oh my god. It's so good. Excellent choice. Done.
Yay.